It's Brian Preston, the money guy.
So the last decade we want to talk about on today's show is 50s and beyond. But we went ahead and went the optimist route because we are very optimistic. We put this is when you're winning the game.
Yep.
I mean, this is the point where I'm hoping you're like, okay, I need to measure twice. I need to kind of see where we're landing this plane of all the opportunities I have, how I've built financial independence, and hopefully move into that fifth level of wealth, which is abundance. Yep. This is the opportunity to celebrate if you have done everything right.
We often talk about when we are savers, when we're investors, we're building up this army of dollar bills. But early on, it's just a small little squadron. Perhaps it's not an entire army. What you want to do is continue building it and building it and building it. Well, one of the things you get to do as your wealth increases is you get to look back and say, how powerful is my army of dollar bills? And that's one of the things we've put front and center on the dashboard of our net worth template, where we show you how powerful are my dollars. And this is how we quantify that. We look at the annual change in liquid assets you have divided by your annual income, so that you can see what percent of your total annual income did your army of dollar bills grow. And this is what's really, really exciting. And this is the game that Brian and I like to play. If our net worth increases, our liquid assets increase more than 100% of what our annual income was, it was like our portfolio, our army of dollar bills, our net worth machine in that year actually worked harder than we did.
Yeah, that's a congratulations moment. When you see on your dashboard of our net worth tool cross 100%, congratulations, because that is a big accomplishment, and that's why we celebrate it. That's why we put it as a metric to keep track of, because that does mean your army of dollar bills worked harder than you actually did through your earned income. That's so powerful, and that's why we also tell you that might be the point, because you are trying to figure out where is financial independence. What are my goals? What's my legacy? What's my why financially? Or maybe you're just so busy you can't do it all yourself, and you don't know what you don't know. That's why we put on our website, it doesn't matter if you go to Abound Wealth, if you go to moneyguy.com, we have a work with us because we want to help you. This is the abundance cycle fulfilled, where we love on you, learn, apply, grow, but you will reach a level of success if you're doing all that we share, that you're going to need somebody to be your co-pilot and help you figure out the next step. And we'll be right there to help you out through that process.
And one of the things that we do when we work with clients, so we help them answer questions about their financial life. Because when you're in your 50s, there are decisions that you have to start thinking about like Social Security. When am I going to take it? And how do I take it? And hey, I've got this pension. And if I retire at this point, when does that come into effect? Well, one of the beautiful things I like is some of those questions for future dated things that we know are going to happen but aren't actually taking place today. We get asked this question all the time, Brian. Where's that go on my net worth statement? How do I account for Social Security? Those are one of the things, those are some of the items that we put on the footnotes page. So we often tell folks, hey, if you haven't taken Social Security, but you know that you're going to have a Social Security benefit, or you have a pension that you're going to have access to when you leave employment, those are all the types of things that you get to put on your footnotes. And I would argue that in your 50s is when those things start to get really, really important, because how those look will impact and dictate some of the decisions you're going to make as you enter into financial independence.
You're exactly right. I mean, we talk about Social Security since it's a promise of future income streams, it's not really an asset or a liability. It's more of a promise of future income or cash flows that will offset your living expenses in retirement. So that goes on the footnotes. Same thing with pensions. A lot of you guys, now look, if you have a lump sum option, there's a case to be made, and we would argue that you could put that on your asset side. But if you know it's just a promise of a future string of annuitized payments, that's probably going to be something that goes on your footnotes. So you need to make sure it's properly disclosed. You know what it is. And what I also like, and I think we'd be remiss if we didn't say it, another good part about the footnotes page is because you still need to be thinking about risk management.
Yep.
You've won the game. Even if you've done it right, you've won the game, but there are things that could derail your financial life. It's important that you are insuring against those things. I mean, you still might have life insurance that's in force. You still, if you're working, go have disability insurance policies. This is the appropriate place to disclose it to your loved ones, as well as just to keep track of everything.
One of the things that happens with a number of my clients in their 50s, when I'm kind of working through this and they send me their net worth statement, I'll see something, but hey, we just did this exercise. We determined that you guys are financially independent. But when I look at your footnotes, you guys are still spending money on this life insurance. You don't need any more, right?
Yeah.
There might be a time where your footnotes might remind you of things that needed to be there in the past, certain types of insurance, certain types of protection, certain types of risk management that perhaps you've graduated beyond. If you're doing this exercise every single year of listing this out, putting it down on paper, and keeping track of it, it will remind you of those things you need not to forget.
And don't mishear us. We're not saying if you are financially independent and have life insurance, just quit making your payments.
No.
That's actually one more reason why it's a better measure twice moment. And that's why we love helping our clients figure out how do you gracefully and appropriately exit some of those insurance policies if you don't need them. Because there is some economic value to that coverage, especially if you bought it while you're young and now you're older, and even though you're rewarded financially that you don't need the protection, you still should take it into account. What's the graceful way to exit this?
Now, maybe you're someone who says, okay, I'm in my 50s and I've been tracking and I like it, but I'm just not quite there, and I'm nervous I'm running out of time. I'm nervous that I don't know if I'm going to hit there. It's okay. Take a breath and relax, because you do still have some juice in your numbers. Remember, we showed you that a 20-year-old has tons of juice. $95 over their working career a month can turn into $1 million. Well, for you, you can still, if you wanted to get to $1 million, right, from 50 to 65, you'd have to save about $2,500 a month. But if you were to do that every month, by the time you got to retirement, about 55% of that million would be your army of dollar bills working for you. So maybe you don't have $1 million shortfall. Maybe you have a $500,000 shortfall. Maybe you have a $250,000 shortfall. Over half of that could be funded by your army of dollar bills working for you, even if you don't figure that out until age 50. There's still a lot of juice in those dollars, in those soldiers for you.
The ding, ding, ding moment for me was still 55% is going to come from the growth of your investments. That's powerful. Don't let somebody fill your glass up and you call it half empty. You still have an optimistic opportunity here to let your army of dollar bills go to work for you. So don't give up. Get to work. You still have time to make things happen.
All right, so let's look at how do Americans in their 50s do? Well, if we look at the median income for Americans in their 50s right now, it's about $54,000 per year. Median net worth, about $182,000. But if you subscribe to our wealth formulas, the Millionaire Next Door formula, age times income divided by 10, and you assume someone's 55 making $54,000, they should be a touch under $300,000 of net worth to be an average accumulator, or to be a prodigious accumulator, they should be about double that amount at just under $600,000.
But just looking at the median or the typical American, that's not going to do it anymore. No. We are now close enough to finding financial independence, to leaving the workforce. You probably could use our resource to let you figure out, hey, am I a prodigious accumulator of wealth? How close am I? Am I behind or am I ahead? We've got the resource for you.
That's exactly right. So if you are a 50 to 59-year-old, we've got a few strata we've looked at, 50,000, 100,000, 150, 200,000. And if you know that you're a 55-year-old making $100,000 a year and you want to be a prodigious accumulator of wealth, your net worth should be about $1.1 million. That's a far cry from the median in America, but being a financial mutant is a far cry from being the average or the median American. You look at and you think about money differently, and that's reflected in your overall net worth and when you look at your overall financial circumstances.
We've been covering this all show, and we've been showing little screenshots, 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s. Guys, you're going to think that, because this is latter part of the year as we're recording this, you're going to think we got a bunch of elves in the background working on all this, because we not only have created the net worth tool that is it's the same tool we're now using for our own financial tracking. We've also created a free deliverable. All you have to do is go to moneyguy.com/resources. It's called the Prodigious Accumulator of Wealth by Age, where you can actually do exactly what we talked about from 20 all the way to 59 years of age. Compare it to your income, and then you can compare that to your net worth. You can know exactly, are you ahead of schedule, behind schedule? we've created the resource that will make this easy for you.
Brian, we get asked this question all the time. Hey, I understand you guys are like financial gurus and you're advisors and yada, yada, yada. If you were just going to give me one piece of advice, what would be that one piece of advice? I think probably the first thing I'd say is, start saving and investing. But the second piece of advice right after that I would tell people is start doing a net worth statement. Don't let the excuse of, oh, I don't have any money, or oh, I only have debt, or oh, I'm too young, or oh, I don't make enough, or oh, fill in the blank of the excuse. If you will just activate that invisible hand in your mind to do this exercise every single year, I am convinced that you will be blown away with what it looks like 5, 10, 15 years from now.
You just said the key thing. It will activate the wealth creation. I always, when I talk about the invisible hand, I'm talking about really this magical thing that's in between your ears, which is your brain. Guys, I've shared this. This analogy sometimes doesn't hit, but I'm old enough that my eyesight's not as well. And when I went to the eye doctor recently, I'm approaching 50, she said we're going to do monovision, where we're going to just correct where one eye will see a far away, one eye will see close up. And I was like, there is no way this will work. That just sounds like you are just creating chaos is what. But you know what? 3 days later, it's like beautiful. Then I'm telling you, and you're like, how is that even possible? It's because this brain up here, it can do so much more than you realize. So why wouldn't you also activate that brain so it can work while you're sleeping, while you're building in the background? Start tracking your annual net worth. Start putting your goals, write them down, record them, creating plans for it. And I think you're going to wake up 3 years in the future, 5 years in the future. You're going to look back and go, holy cow, those guys are right. And it's not magical. It's just how powerful. We talk about how powerful your dollars are. Wake up that invisible hand, because your brain is that powerful too. You're missing out if you don't take advantage of all the resources we've created. MoneyGuy.com/resources is all the free stuff. If you actually want to accelerate and go beyond just the free stuff, I want you to go to learn.moneyguy.com. We actually have the financial order of operations course that will tell you what to do with your next dollar, as well as now brand new, a net worth statement tool that not only helps you track, because everybody, you can go download a free template in Excel or Sheets that will do this. But what we've created is in Excel, actually gives you a dashboard with measurable metrics so you can actually use this to navigate your journey.
And we want to hear from you. As you start using it, as you start loving it, let us know. If you don't follow us on Instagram, follow us on Instagram and interact with us. If you don't follow us on Facebook, follow us on Facebook and interact with us. We want to know how much this is changing your life, and we have a community of financial mutants all around us that would love to hear from you guys as well. So make sure you check it out and then interact with us so we can know what you think about it.
So come join us on this journey, our annual tradition of doing the net worth statement. We'll be waiting for you. We'll be here to talk about it. I'm your host, Brian Preston. Mr. Bo Hansen, Money Guy team, out.